All right, so this is the first episode, I guess, of the search bar. We're going to call it the search bar live. I want to tell you guys what happened and why this is happening, and then we'll just see what happens with this. I So most of you probably know that I have this newsletter that I started like 12 years ago, and it really was just to try to figure out whenever Penguin updated, people wanted to know when it happened, and Google didn't tell us about it. So I just started this newsletter, and then whenever people were learning about Penguin, they also wanted to know everything Google said about it and everything the community said. And so I started making more and more of a newsletter. Well, the newsletter today is monstrous. Like I feel this compulsion to cover everything in search, and I think because there's so much that we need to know. And anyways, I realized that nobody has time to read. I don't have time to write all this. And what happened yesterday alone was enough for me to write a full like 5,000 word newsletter. So what I thought we would do is we're going to go through a whole bunch of things that happened yesterday. I've bookmarked a bunch of stuff on Twitter, and I'll share my thoughts. And then I'd really encourage those of you who are in the call, if you want to join me and give your opinions on things and share things, that would be awesome. I really have no idea how this will go. The call right now is open to everyone, and we'll see what happens. You know, if we end up getting bombarded by spam, then we'll change that in the future. But I think this is something we could do regularly. So let me start screen sharing, and then right as you know, I have alerts set up for every time Google Search Liaison tweets, and he's tweeting now, but it's nothing terribly exciting. Okay, let's see here. Present now, and all right, we're gonna go with this whole window. Okay, so there's a ton of stuff to get through. Let's just there we go. But we're gonna see how we do here. I want to start by, so these are all the things that we're gonna cover that just happened just yesterday, which is like just wild to me. We're gonna start by hidden gems. Now, Google released this blog post back in May. I'll make it a bit bigger here so everybody can see it. And they talked about this hidden gems. A little bigger here. Helpful information can often live in unexpected or hard to find places. A comment in a forum thread. Now, like we've seen Reddit and Quora do amazingly well, right? So it looks like, you know, Google has already been doing that. This is the part that excites me. A post on a little known blog. You know, we've been talking for years now about creating content the way that Google has advised us to do, to create helpful content. And it's not always rewarded because it's rarely rewarded really unless you work like crazy to make yourself known as a brand. And so some of the things we're going to talk about today will show, I really think that Google is moving towards this, that there are new ways for helpful content from little known blogs to be seen. An article with unique expertise on a topic, same thing. And then, so this is what they said: our helpful content ranking system will soon show more of these hidden gems on search. So we have been asking Danny Sullivan and Google for a few months now, you know, is this the hidden gems update? When the helpful content update happened in September, Danny Sullivan said, no, this is not hidden gems. And then this is the next part that I want to tell you about. Danny tweeted, let's see how this goes, showing my Twitter on here. I'll make it, there we go. Oh, there we go. There's Alessia asked the question that back in September. So Danny Sullivan said that that hidden gems was not a part, and then Google came out this week and said, "Oh, actually, it's a part of the core ranking systems," which really contradicts what they say in this blog post. It actually says that it's going to be. Oh, here we go. In the upcoming months, we'll roll out an update to this system, and that's being the helpful content system. So they did tell us that hidden gems was a part of the helpful content system. I don't think it matters either way. But yeah, so Danny said it wasn't a part of the update to the helpful content system because it wasn't a part of that system. It's being tested as a part of our core ranking systems. But here's the part that was interesting to me. It's fully launched now, and that's what Google announced today. So we're going to look at that announcement in a minute, that it's live and a part of core ranking. So fully launched now, to me, that means that that Reddit and Quora, you know, we saw those sites being elevated back in the end of August, I think, or so. And it didn't really, it was kind of around the time of the August core update, but didn't really fit with that. So it would make sense to me that, you know, Google started to to show more forum posts at that time. And so now I'm wondering, you know, are we going to start seeing more little blog posts? I think a lot of these changes are going to be things that we see with SGE. And I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I am in Canada, so I don't get SGE most of the time. Are any of you who are on the call, do any of you want to share anything about this? Like, are you seeing any changes that might be related to this? I think most of you are not even in the US, perhaps. And this is one of the frustrating things. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do these calls, is that you know, a lot of the things that are happening I might not be able to see. So together, eventually the calls will get bigger and we'll have more people that will be able to share that type of thing. So let's just go back here, and I thought this was funny.
I only got to these follow-ups questions all the time, and I don't really have access to notes. And in UK, they also have the lab sometimes, and I'm currently in the UK, and all these kind of things. But I usually use VPN, US VPN. It works perfectly fine for me.
Do you get SGE with VPN?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Oh, see, I don't. I do sometimes, like maybe 1 out of 200 times that I try, I get it, and then no, I don't. But I'll get barred still. But yeah, no SGE. I thought this was funny. Google's algo is leaked. If the URL contains Reddit or Quora, then it's a hidden gem. I think, I mean, we saw, and I could open up Ahrefs and show like the graph of traffic that goes to Reddit and Quora has increased dramatically. And so I don't know how much we want to talk about that because we've got more to talk about, but I think that what Google gets from Reddit and Quora is very similar to what they get from Notes, which we're going to talk about in a second. And that's people, what is it that people are finding interesting about a topic? Yeah, Renee, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm a little congested. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. Inside of the SGE, whenever I Google something like where to eat barbecue, I'm noticing something really fascinating. It's Google links as well. So I'll send a screenshot as soon as I hang up. But like, it's Google suggesting other Google searches in the carousel in the SGE, if that makes any sense. I'll send a screenshot.
Okay, yeah. Or you can screen share.
Yes.
Do you want to screen share? Or is it?
I think that would be weird because of my setup at the moment. I just added a second monitor and I don't know where the hell it is. So in the scheme of everything here. But yeah, I'll send a screenshot. But basically what it's doing is suggesting secondary Google searches, but it's in the carousel. And I find that bizarre.
Yeah. We're going to actually, we'll see that in some of the screenshots that I'm going to share in a second here. That,
okay.
And that's why, part of why I wanted to do these is because we're seeing this just as a part of SGE. So that means right now SGE is only really available in the US. And it's only being tested, right? So just for other people, I think most of the people on the call here know that, but it's going to be difficult for us to see what's happening.
Well, I was also wondering with the hidden gems, you know, that screenshot you shared, I think yesterday, of a blog post in the middle of the maps.
Yes.
To me, that's
here
a
it is.
hidden
Yeah.
gem.
Let's
I think that's a
let's show that.
perfect example of that.
Exactly. So this is Claire Carlisle shared this this image here of maps. And
Yes,
so
that
she
one.
did a search for whatever this is, Welsh cakes, and these are maps listings, right? And
Yeah.
I got an echo. I might need to.
Oh,
I
hold
might
on.
need
I'll
to
mute
mute you there,
myself.
Renee. Yeah. These are maps listings, and then in between the 28 best places to eat. And I actually did. What was that search? Let's see if we can get it. Mamgoo Welsh cakes. Oops. Oh, there we go. Is this the page that? It was a W. Well. Oh, and it was the 28 best something or other, right? So it's interesting because like a lot of the time what comes up in SGE, it's not even ranking in organic. Okay, let's try it again here. The 28 best places to eat this summer in Wales. So I think this is probably, now I haven't analyzed this article, but this would be what Google considers helpful content, right? So it's relevant to somebody who did that search. My gosh, it has enough pop-ups. So if I'm looking at this as a searcher, you know, I'm scrolling and then I just want to see this list, right? And I bet you this is a pretty decent list. I don't know. We need Claire here to tell us if this is a good list. But the whole point though is that, yeah, helpful content right in maps. And then the other place where we saw helpful content was Glenn Gabe shared this yesterday, which was an SGE result where there was an ad carousel. So this is sponsored. Can I make that bigger? There we go. So it's a ad carousel. But look at these ads. Like if I do a search right now for, oh, I hope Glenn doesn't have an ant problem. With something about ant infestations. Oh, funny, I don't have any ads. I did it before and I got like all these wildly markety. Yeah, no. Let's see here. How to get rid of an ant infestation. Now Google's not going to show me any ads. But the ads that I got yesterday were like not something that you would click on. And when you look at these, this looks like helpful content. It's actually so I recognize Orkin as a brand. And there's a guide from them how to get rid of ants in my home. I think this is like a whole different kind of ad. And it's only, I don't know if it's going to be like a whole new ranking system of ranking based on the helpfulness of the content. So let's see here. Anybody else want to say anything else about helpful content appearing there? We'll move on to notes and follows. So let's look at Google's blog post. I think this is probably the best way to do this, is to just kind of work through this blog post, because there's a few things in here that are really, really important. So notes is the first thing that they talk about. I wonder if I play this video, can you guys hear it? Let me just try this. No, no, you can't hear it. Okay, well, we'll figure that out another time then. And I actually took screenshots from this video and shared them in the search bar yesterday. So, because there's a lot of really interesting things. So what they're saying in the video, they gave an example of like, if you were searching for a certain type of vegan dish or something, there's probably somebody else in the world that searched for that. And they want to connect people with real people, not necessarily with brands. Now, what everybody's talking about with these notes. So let's look at these notes. Oh, this is following. Wait, let's get to notes. There we go, notes. Notes is, right now it's an experiment in Search Labs. And let me, I'm going to open up my notes on notes, because I think it's important for us to know this. Okay. So this was the example. This is a screenshot from the video that I couldn't play. That basically, so you see this in the search, this add notes, and you can see that there's 23 notes. And I'm going to show you some examples of people who have actually left notes. These are the ones that Google showed, and like, they don't look that helpful to me. You know, like if I was looking for buttercream icing, a note that tells me it's easy to make and you add berries to mix things up doesn't seem that helpful. But I saw another one. Which one did I see as an example here? Well, here's Glenn gave an example. Glenn left probably what is one of the world's first notes, I would think. So he posted his first note. So it had to be pending. So it looks like it's I don't know. I think I would imagine that if Google's going to do this, in order for things to not be littered by spam, they must be really confident in their ability to filter what's worthy of publishing. So let's see. Featured snippets don't seem to have the notes option, just URLs and the 10 blue links as far as he's seen. And here's what he saw here. Okay, so you can add a note, and there's no notes to this. And then, all right, he created his first note. What does this note say? Google explained this rolled out months ago. It's not part of the helpful content system. It's part of Google's core training system instead. Barry does a great job here of breathing everything down. I don't think he meant breathing. Breaking. I think he meant breaking. That's funny. So Glenn's first note has a typo in it. That's how it's one of the ways that you can tell if something's AI produced or not. So Glenn's not a large language model. So I think that Google can learn a few things from these notes. One, it tells them, it helps make the content even more helpful, right? Like if whatever this piece of content is, Glenn just added more context to it that will help other users. I think also these notes help Google figure out what's important about a story. You know, if somebody writes this story that's 2,000 words long and everybody's talking about the bit that was in the middle, that's probably what's going to last. Yeah, Darius says, I don't think it'll stick for long in the search results. I think this is an experiment to teach Google something. To teach Google to figure out what the important parts are and what additional context people need when questions are asked. The hardest part in answering things with AI is not producing the answer; it's knowing what the questions are. And so I think that we're basically by leaving notes, we're helping Google train. I think. I just turned on my phone. It's recording me. Okay, let's go back to the note here and get rid of some of these here. This is what always happens. I have so many windows open. Okay, bear with me here. Oh, I was on mine. That's what I was doing. Okay. So here's some of the examples that Google gave. I think we'll cover kind of both notes and follows because there's a lot that was covered on both of these. You can follow topics now on Google, not just on Discover. So you could always follow topics on Discover before. But now, and again, I think all of these things are just a part of SGE, but I think this is not an experiment. I think this is something that's live now. Does anybody know? Can anybody correct me on that? So you can follow any topic. So I could follow the topic of pottery. And I've seen screenshots where they show at the top of the search results a carousel that says, new content, basically, that you might be interested in. So that's where helpful content comes in. And, Here's some more examples of, oh, these are notes. These are notes that people left. This was an interesting note. Most of the notes that were left just seem kind of surface in their video. But here's a guy explaining, some basketball coaching thing. And that's super interesting, right? That will make a piece of content even more interesting. Now, something that's interesting about the blog post is they said that there will be insights from the notes that people leave that we will be able to use as content creators. So if I don't know what those will look like. I would imagine they're probably going to use AI to figure out, like, what's the sentiment of people saying? How can you improve your content? I would imagine Google's going to give us ideas of improving the helpfulness of our content based on what the notes say, based on what people are commenting on. Let's see here. Follows. Oh yeah, Daria said you turned off Discover as soon as it went live. Discover is getting better and better, and I actually find myself turning to it. When you want to mindlessly scroll through things and learn stuff, it's getting better at understanding what I like to see. So I think if you're in search, it's important to be using Discover, because a lot of the things that we see, the new search results that we're seeing, they start in Discover sometimes. So follows. Here's following a topic. So this particular example in the video, we're following the topic of basketball drills. And so when something new comes out, so look at these blog posts. I don't know if these are authoritative websites. Here's a YouTube video. Hidden Gems is supposed to elevate hidden gems from YouTube. I think YouTube is something, actually, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this right now, is I think that Gemini will be able to understand what happens in videos. And so understanding what's going on in a YouTube video is something that would be really helpful for a lot of people. So so that's following a topic. And so, yeah, you can choose to follow. Here we go. Here's the topic: half marathon training. You're following half marathon training. So I typed, it's going to be even more important now to create helpful content. And then I pressed play on the video, and Google said, search will now show you helpful content. So that's really the goal. All the times when Google's saying, I wrote something in the search bar in the pro area today about my theories on how I've been talking for a long time now about these criteria, like the helpful content criteria, the questions that Google gives us to answer. And I realized that really they've got so many different machine learning systems that are taking all these different signals from all over the place just to figure out, like, what actually is the most helpful for people. And the answer is to create stuff that's the most helpful. So anyways, I'm babbling. Let's see what else we talked about. Perspectives. This is Danny Sullivan. Our core ranking systems are designed to show more of this type of content. I think this was in response to a question that Glenn asked about hidden gems again. So Glenn wanted to know if hidden gems was a per URL evaluation. And Danny said, well, really it's more, and this was like a bit of a confusing answer. Really, it's more that our core ranking systems are designed to show this type of content, the helpful content. So they're not classified as gems. It's not like they have a label put on them saying you are a gem for your topic, but rather it's content that should surface well, but hasn't surfaced in the past. And I have all sorts of theories on how Google's doing this. I think it's involving, they're doing more things with vector searches rather than the traditional lexical type of searches that we're used to. But really, what we need to know again here is that we should be seeing more of these hidden gems. I think we're going to get sick of saying the word hidden gem all the time. So let's see. Oh, and then this was the other controversial thing, is when did it roll out? So Danny said, yeah, hidden gems several months ago, but we've been asking him, when did this roll out? We just talked about that it's part, so it rolled out as part of the core systems, but not as part of a core update several months ago, and it's ramped up to its full extent as of yesterday. Let's move on here. We'll look at some of these examples here. I thought this was good that Ethan shared here. He can add a note. So he was looking about the perspectives filter. He can add a note, and his note said, looks like the perspectives filter will go live soon on desktop as per their announcement. So he added more context to that information, and that seemed helpful. I haven't seen any examples yet of somebody publishing a note where we would go, oh my gosh, that's horrible. How could Google publish this? Has anybody seen any notes yet that were... I really can't see Google moving forward with this unless they have like this insanely good moderation system. I feel like I wrote about that for newsletter maybe a few months ago about some new advances they made in content moderation. So this solves the problem of trolls, of comment spam. If I write an article for my blog, I'll get several comments from, I don't know if they're bots or just people who just want to make you feel bad. But everybody gets these. And there'll be like 1,000 people read a blog post, and all that sticks in the content creator's head is that one troll that said, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I think this will help solve that. And it'll encourage more people to be creating good, helpful content. We should play a game where everybody takes a shot when I say helpful content. We showed Glenn's first note. I thought this was brilliant. So Glenn has some teenage children, and he said he asked his daughter and his son what they thought of notes in the SERPs, and they both said that they probably wouldn't be any interested at all in notes, but what they would be interested in is an AI-based overview of the URL. So that's kind of like SGE while browsing. And so basically you would, and you know what? I think that that's probably what the Bard overlay will do. So the Bard overlay, Bard's going to be a part of Google Assistant soon. And on whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone, you can basically ask Bard questions about anything. So you won't even need a notes button. But you could just go through the SERPs and not even click on anything, I'm guessing. And then Bard could summarize everything in the SERPs. So that doesn't sound good as website owners, right? I think that that's something that may not get some good feedback from website owners, but I think it would be something that's really useful for people. Let's see here. Glenn, also, we got a lot of stuff from Glenn here. Glenn's been really on top of what's happening. He said notes are in Discover as well. So here's a Discover thing where add note. I haven't seen these yet. I'm in Discover all the time. I haven't seen it. Oh, there, be the first to add notes. Some notes may have been filtered for relevance. Interesting. As in, like, if you're just a troll, don't bother. This I thought was really good. I don't know, and I don't know how to say his name, Gagan. I don't know Gagan well, but he's appeared out of nowhere recently on my radar and really saying some good things that made me think. So worth a follow for sure. He brought up this point about peer validation, and that made me think about the quality rater guidelines. All over the guidelines, they talk about the importance of what other people say about your content, about you, about your reputation. That's all, it all comes from what other people say about you. And so let's say I publish an article on the helpful content update, and also somebody else publishes an article, and my article gets a whole bunch of notes. Well, Google can look at those notes and kind of get an understanding of its importance, but let's say the people who are leaving notes on my content are experts in the field. Well, that speaks to my content, right? And let's say that the notes that are coming from I don't know. I think there's just so much that Google will be able to learn from the notes that are left on our content. So I think this is fascinating. Here's a question that I thought was a good question. Will Google record notes in Search Console? Aside from answering and finding questions, how will the data be useful? We sort of talked about that a little bit, but I do think that they'll give us insights. I noticed I'm going to talk later about GA4. I think we will get to the point where basically the combination of GA4 plus Search Console plus all of this new language model abilities, that we'll be able to like just look at our data and get insight like, hey, when you write about this, you tend to get better engagement. Or yesterday, I took a screenshot on my phone of my Twitter analytics and I put it into ChatGPT. And just on the screenshot, I said, what kind of tweets are doing well for me right now? And like, it gave me all these insights about when I tweet about this, when I tweet about that, it gets more engagement. So I think Search Console will give us all sorts of interesting stuff, but we'll see. All right. Now, this is super interesting. Let's talk about showing follower counts and social information in the search results. Has anybody seen this yet? I don't know how to ask questions on here. I can only see a small few of you. If you've seen it, maybe. Oh yeah, we'll have to figure out how to do that. So Kevin asked, and he brought up. So actually, let's start with this. This was what was in Google's announcement. Starting today, we'll show new information on search results that highlights information about the individual creator, like their social handle, follower count, or the popularity of their content. Now, that's sounds like wording from the Radar guidelines. You know what? Let's open those because this is a good lesson here, I think. Look at it. Look, the word popular is in here a lot. Make it even bigger here for you guys. Popularity. Okay, so positive reputation. Reputation means so much in Google's systems. And reputation is not just, do you have bad reviews or good reviews? Reputation can be about popularity, user engagement, and reviews. And so even what I'm doing right here, I've got a conversation where several of you have felt it interesting enough to join. Thank you. That sends a signal that, this is maybe something that's helpful to people. People are always trying to figure out YouTube's algorithms, and really all it comes down to is, are you creating stuff that people want to watch? And so user engagement is probably a signal. I remember back in 2014, one of the things I put in a newsletter was how Google sent a message in, I think it was Webmaster Tools still at the time, not Search Console, to tell us not to be blocking our JavaScript. Alessia, do you remember that?
It was kind of long ago.
It was a long time. Yeah. It struck me because I felt like, okay, does Google want to be seeing? Because when you hide your JavaScript, Google can't see if people are submitting forms or buying things on your website. And I think they use all of those things to feed back into, not necessarily for your website. It's not like, 10 people submitted a form today, therefore you should rank higher. No, it's like, look, it looks like people are actually engaging with this and finding this helpful. That's a signal of the type of thing people find helpful. And then it all gets fed into machine learning systems. So I thought when Google said, give us this thing saying, don't block your JavaScript, it was because they actually want to use some things as signals. It's super controversial about that. But positive reputation and popularity are very, very important when it comes to ranking. So let's go back to Kevin's thing. Okay, so he highlighted this, and here's the thing that people were confused about was, what is Google showing? Like, does this go back to the whole idea of author? Where is I had Mark? Oh no, Mark's not there anymore. Okay. Well, does it go back to the whole idea of authorship and we've had all these discussions about authorship. So Danny said, to clarify, this is about displaying more background info about social creators. It's not a ranking change and not somehow making use of some verification to boost content. So it's not a ranking. So it's not like if I just reached 75,000 Twitter followers this week. Woohoo. So it's not like that gives me a ranking boost. But if you see that in the search results, I don't know if Google's showing Twitter followers. We've seen them show LinkedIn. But if you see that in the search results, that's kind of like a signal, right? Like you're more likely to want to read something from somebody who's got followers than somebody who's just coming up with some good ideas. And then those people who come up with the good ideas should be able to get more and more followers. And then that's kind of how you build being known for your topics. So Kevin said, doesn't it say, as a part of this work, we've also rolled out a series of ranking improvements to show more first-person perspectives? Okay, so I'm not sure what he's trying to say here. We've done this work to show more first-hand perspectives in results. But that's not based on showing stuff only from verified accounts. Plus, it can include forum discussions that don't have that concept. Yeah, so the Radar guidelines talk about how there can be really helpful information in a forum, even if you can't verify who the identity is of the person who's saying it. Where individual creators are shown, we're also displaying more information above them. So not a ranking thing, just like we said, just more information to help people decide whether they want to engage with content. One of the most important things that it's going to take in order, if you go back to that, the ads in the SGE and the brands that were in there. When I said Orkin showed an ad for ant infestation, it's because they're known for that topic. And that's going to be what the most important thing is being known for your topics. Okay. Oh, we skipped over some here. Clarification. I think we did that. See if I got this one. Okay, so Lily asked, oh, right. Okay, so here's where the confusion is that if Google is trying to identify what our social accounts are, then they must be able to identify who authors are, right? So Danny says that's not about figuring out authors. What that's referencing is that if we're showing content from social authors, we're surfacing more information about the author from that profile, sort of like we do with schema as a display thing. Alessia, you said, upvotes on responses help even if the author is not really authenticated. Oh, yeah. So it's like another signal in Reddit that here's something that's helpful to people, right? A few more things here. Okay, well, I thought this was good. Carrie Rose was saying Google is bringing creator stats to the SERPs, including social handles, follower count, and popularity of their content to drive trust and authority signals. And I think she referenced, that same thing. And so it's really becoming just more and more important to be popular. I'm sounding like a broken record here. I'll say helpful content again. Let's see here. All right, I think we've covered those. Let's close a few of these up. Oh, not that one. Okay. How are we doing? Does anybody have any questions or want to say anything as we're getting through here? Go ahead, Renee.
This is kind of random, but is there any chance that Google, because of SGE, is going to handle so much, they're trying to make the SERP more interactive, like a Reddit style interaction with these comments and these upvotes, and suddenly SERP is going to become almost more like a social engine?
I think nobody knows the answer to that. The more I
Well,
think
of course,
about
but
how
yeah.
no, but not even Google. I think that people decide the answer to that. that when Google decides like, oh, it'll be helpful to have a new feature here. I mean, they may try new features. And then that's where our initial understanding of how the quality raters work is that they show the raters like, here's the search results with this feature, and here it is without this feature. And then if a feature is helpful, then the machine learning systems pick that up and that feature gets used. So if it's something, it might be something that Google tries, that, upvotes and notes and anything that's indicative of, wow, people are engaging with this and finding it helpful is something that's likely to help, I think. Does that make sense?
It does. And I can imagine a world where certain commenters, if you can see other people's comments, I'm confused on that part, but if you could see other people's comments, that suddenly certain commenters become like curators, and you really want to seek out the information in the SERPs that a specific commenter that you start following is commenting on and saying, these are really good recipes, or these are really good instructions on how to do whatever, right?
That's really good. Like, you could become known as the person who knows how to make the gluten-free substitutions, right? Or
kind of, yeah. Or even like, you're a good, how these days so many newsletters that I follow are curators, right? So like The Hustle or any of those kind of newsletters, they're not writing their own original comment, they're commenting on the comments, and they become super known curators of content. So in the SERP, if you're someone who's leaving a lot of notes, you're kind of curating the SERP for the next person that sees the SERP.
That totally
I
makes
don't know,
sense,
just
right?
thinking out loud. Yeah.
Right, because you're seeing like say I am doing some searches and then I'm leaving little comments on the things I search. Well, now like you might want to read what I've read. And yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah. People, I don't know if there was the opportunity to follow people. It probably would come. It makes sense to me. Now we bring back Google Plus. Right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Okay, well let's move on here. This, I think, is a big announcement. Google Courses, not Google Courses, but Google Course Schema. We're excited to announce the course info rich result, a new way to display courses. This might not seem like a big thing, but, and so here's all the instructions for Schema that when you use them, and I don't know if I have an example. No, I had one, I didn't save it. But when you use the Schema, you can get shown as a result for courses. So can you guys picture, I don't know how many of you have played with GPTs. Yeah, Alessia, go ahead.
Like you need, I just made the courses schema a lot in the past. You need at least 5 courses to be showcased in the courses rich results. Yes.
Oh,
On
good
the
to
website.
know. Okay. And that makes sense, right?
At least at the moment. Maybe in the future they'll change it, but at the moment it's like from 5 courses.
That totally makes sense because, anybody could make a course, but like people would want to make courses from people who have made some successful courses, right? So yeah, okay, well, that's good to know. Well, here's what I think. I'm looking ahead here. This wasn't in Google's announcement, but when I played with GPTs, which we're going to talk a little bit about GPTs if we get to it. I think Mighty Networks cuts the meeting off at 2 hours, so we're not going past 2 hours. But when I played with GPTs, you could totally make a course. Like, I could put my helpful content workbook plus the quality rater guidelines plus some Google documentation into a GPT, which I have done, and I'm going to share that with you guys at some point in the future. But then I also could do prompting to say, guide the user through a course, converse with them first to find out what kind of information, what kind of learning style they have, and create a course to walk them through my workbook. And then within just a few seconds, I've made a course. Now, I already had the material. That's the thing. You need to have the knowledge. But some people who I've consulted with that have content websites, like, you've been making content for decades, some of you, and you can take like the best of your content. I saw Will Reynolds, that Seer has an amazing guide on how to use Screaming Frog. They took that and put it into a GPT, And now you can ask the GPT any questions about using Screaming Frog. Well, you probably could easily say, make me a course out of this, and it would quiz you, or it would, you know, once Gemini is live, it'll probably even give you video or whatever. There's so many things that we can do with this. So I think that courses will be a new revenue stream for a lot of creators. I think I could create with Google, if I'm right, and Google's Gemini is the same type of system as GPTs that will allow businesses to create these little apps, then within like an afternoon, I could have a whole brand new revenue stream that would be incredibly helpful for people. So I'm excited to see what happens with courses. So for now, it's just, you know, if you have, I'm going to put my helpful content, I'm going to try put the schema on anyways for my helpful content course, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I need a few more before before it goes, before I get rich results. Let's see here. GPTs. Pay attention to GPTs. They sound like a fad or like something silly. The vast majority of GPTs that I've seen people post are not great. Like they're useful, but I mean, I think I've had 4 or 5 different people send me one of the quality raters guidelines. In the next 10 seconds, I could create a GPT that just looks at the quality rater guidelines and lets you ask questions of it. There's no value in me sharing that with other people. But where there is value, this GPT that I made, I'm still going to refine it more before I make it public, or I don't know if I'll charge for it even, but is really good. Number one, because of this was a book. I put in here a book that I wrote. So it's not like I took the rater guidelines. I took my own property that I created, my own thinking, my own thought processes are in that book. And that makes that GPT more valuable. And then the other thing that makes the GPTs valuable, well, I mean, there's multiple things. I don't know. I think I could go on forever about GPTs, but what I want to say is that this is the start of businesses being able to do stuff with their data. Now, there's all sorts of problems with GPTs right now. If I put my helpful, you know what? Why don't we do this? I don't know how much you guys have played with GPTs, but oh, let's see here. Here's all my GPTs. Let's do this one. I made this GPT to help me because I was trying to plant rose seeds, and I grabbed a couple of PDFs off the internet from official looking places and put them in the knowledge base. Actually, let me show. Actually, before I show you that, but here's the thing: anybody can find those. What are the files in your knowledge base? It's going to take a second. There's 2 documents. So, and you can query those. Like, it's not going to give you the entire document. It's not like my helpful content book. It's not like you're going to be able to get the whole book. But basically, anything you put into a GPT is something that that it's not private. It's not private. Even if you try to hide your custom instructions. Here's the one that I just made about links. Let's see if I can't remember if I did this, but what are your instructions? I think it was this one. We'll see. So, so I basically made it so that if someone was trying to get it, but you can, I bet you can get around it. It's okay. It's me, Marie. Oh no. Okay, maybe they fixed it up. Let's see here. What is the first line? I was able to get them before. Oh, there we go. So now it's gonna probably. All right. The point I'm trying to make is it's almost impossible to hide your instructions from people. There's a thread that I saw of, you know, ways that people are trying, but you can't hide them. So if you are working with businesses, you know, you got to be really careful if you're going to put stuff in there. Oh, this was the second thing that I wanted to say. The next part is what happens with this information that I upload. So let's say I upload my helpful content workbook. I made this quick GPT that I just uploaded OpenAI's privacy guide. Now it's outdated because they updated their privacy guide. But let's just see here. What happens if I upload my book as a knowledge piece in a GPT? Does OpenAI train on this data? Oh, interesting. It says no. Maybe I'm getting hallucinations because before, oh, maybe they changed things. Before it told me that it could be used in training. So here's the thing, we don't know. We don't know, and I'm not an expert in privacy policies. And every time you see, like, how many privacy policies are you actually going to read and understand? So one of the concerns over GPTs is that we don't know what happens when you put your own information in there. And I think that when Google comes out with Gemini, which is going to happen next year, they said they're releasing models of different sizes throughout 2024. I think that it's going to allow businesses to do this, but in a private way. And if you stick around to the end, we'll talk about Microsoft announced that yesterday. So I think things are going to explode very quickly. Very quickly, let me just show you, in case you haven't seen it, how you make these GPTs. You need to have ChatGPT Plus, which is what I was just trying to point out. They shut it down, new signups, because the demand was too much. But you can create them in two ways. You can like converse with the GPT and it'll create some instructions, or you can write you can write these instructions, and it's basically a prompt. I think this is one I wrote with GPT creating things. Then it makes these conversation starters, which are these things here, which you can make your own. And here's what I uploaded, this knowledge. And you can choose whether your GPT allows people to browse the web for part of their answers, to generate images, and to use, there's so much you can do with Code Interpreter. I made this GPT, which one is it here? I don't have data handy to upload it for you, but it'll make a scatter plot of your keyword rankings if you export data from Search Console of 2 different date periods. Like, there's so much that you can do with GPTs. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about GPTs because I think I could talk about them all day. Let's, where are we at? Anybody want to shout anything out or have any questions? I don't know how, how do I see all of you? I got messages, show everyone. No. Oh, that's a little bit better, but then I can't see the chat. Oh, well, okay. Let's talk next. So if you want to say something, maybe put something in the chat. I see the chat. Okay, Danny Sullivan said a lot of things this week. And Barry wrote, Barry was a machine yesterday. He said he wrote like 30 articles, and he moderated SMX, he moderated my session, and he did 2 client calls. We're all doing way too much work. Okay, so he's very good with his Midjourney images here. So Danny Sullivan said some things at Brighton SEO that got people talking, and the question was whether he said buckle up because major changes are coming in the search rankings. Now, Danny clarified, so why don't we just go to his clarification. The point he was trying to make is the opposite of the headline. I did use the words buckle up in saying I don't want to buckle up. I don't want to say buckle up. Okay. He had a better explanation later. Basically, what he was saying is if you're doing the right things, you don't need to worry. but he did say that lots of changes are coming. You know what? I wrote something for the search bar about this with all of Danny's changes. Let's just see if I can find it, because it would be worthwhile. All right, here we go. Okay, so here are some of the slides that people took from Brighton SEO. Why does Google rank terrible content from big brands over great content from smaller brands? We're not perfect, blah, blah, blah. So I think Google, what they're trying to say is they're getting there, and they're still not 100% of the way there in having completely helpful content in the SERPs. Anybody want to comment on what your SERPs look like? Is there a lot of spam in them still? Nobody says anything. Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing less spam. I don't know. I think that Google's getting better. Maybe I just want them to get better. So a few things that Danny said, that Google systems are trying to reward what people like, not what Google likes. The more you try to think, but what does Google want, the more you're getting away from what Google wants. And this is what we were talking about, creating helpful content, not creating content that we think is going to satisfy Google's algorithms. This was interesting. Search has gone through cycles of low quality content rising up before search algorithms evolved to address it. And another cycle is taking place. That's what he said. Kenichi said that, Danny said this at Brighton SEO. So that's interesting. Another cycle. I think AI has created the opportunity to create copious amounts of content that look really good to Google search engines. Helpful content system is probably the remedy to that, but people are always, and the spam brain too, but people are always trying to find ways to get around Google. This was the part that I really liked. Of course, Google uses interactions in search. It's right in the How Search Works document. This document I've referenced a lot. We use aggregated and anonymized interaction data to assess whether search results are relevant to queries. And so that's something that's important to know. Let's see what else. There's a lot here. I don't think we'll go through all of these. Let's see. Okay, and the change is coming to search. But that's what he said. But really, those who are making good people-first content should be fine. This was the part that. Oh, I must have linked to the wrong thing. You're going to have to believe me that he said many upcoming ranking signals and changes are coming. So this was one of the reasons why I stopped writing everything in newsletter, because look at how long we've been talking, and we haven't even covered half of the stuff here. And Google is just getting going. I think we're going to see so many changes related to AI. Mobile first indexing finished this week or last week. And mobile first indexing, here's something interesting. It started 7 years ago, which coincidentally, Google says they've been an AI first search engine for 7 years. I really think that they've got it all ready to just be completely AI, not just AI first, but not just a bunch of programs that people wrote to figure out PageRank combined with AI systems, but AI first. I think that that's the changes that we're seeing, this transition. We're going to try to get through the rest of these quickly, which is a funny thing for me to do because I don't do a lot of things quickly. Okay, Google's robots.txt tester is gone now. I don't know much about this, but as part of this update, we're sunsetting the robots.txt tester. And Cyrus published some stuff here. Now to test a URL, if a URL is allowed in your robots, there's two things. You can do a live test. That's how I've done it I haven't used the tester in a long time. I've always done a live test. But I could see ways where times where you'd want to be doing the tester, or use a third-party tester. Does anybody use any third-party robots.txt testers? No. Oh, here we go. Here's some examples here. So I'll make the notes. The notes that I made to make this video probably will end up being the newsletter, actually. So you'll have all these links and this is the free newsletter that's published for everyone. Okay, let's see what else here. Okay, this was super interesting. I'm gonna have to try not to talk forever about it because I think I could. Dana said, and Simo pointed this out, that there was a change in GA4 so that now what was previously called conversions in analytics is now key events. And I think it was something else. It was, does anybody know? Yeah, totally. Just change the things to change things. Okay. I know how much we hate GA4. Or a lot of people hate GA4. But I've been setting it up for the search bar. And I've been doing something really weird with the search bar, is like not paying any attention to SEO whatsoever. Just doing what's in front of me. I have so much to do and I'm doing it so quickly that I'm just kind of doing what's best for my audience. And then I couldn't figure out how to connect GA4 because it was on a subdomain and I didn't have access to, like, I was just really frustrated. And I have tons of people that I could call to ask for help. But I went to Bard and I asked Bard for instructions, and Bard walked me through everything I needed to know to set it up. And now as I'm looking at it, it gives me like insights. It's a whole different thing than Google Analytics. So to me, key events make sense. I want to measure things like, when did somebody sign up for my newsletter, or when did I get a paid subscriber to my paid newsletter? And those, well, that would be a conversion. But somebody signing up, like, we call that a conversion, but in my brain, it's really just something that happened. You know, I didn't make any money when somebody signed up to my free newsletter. So anyways, I think that GA4, the reason why we don't like it as SEOs is because it wasn't built to work with the old search engine. It was basically built to work with AI, and built to eventually be something that we just talk to it. We don't go and, like, right now it's horrible if you got to click and set up this report and blah, blah, blah. We should be able to, I think Bard will connect with GA4, and then we should be able to just say, like, hey, I just want to see how many books I sold last week. Or how many books to people in this country did I sell, with natural language, and it will it'll do what we want. This was an excellent thread that I'm just going to point out just briefly that Lily posted, that if your site was hit by a Google update, not every agency and consultant knows what to do. This is really important right now because I see, I mean, this has been my job for my career for like the last 12 years, has been helping websites that were affected by Google updates. And right now there's so much change that even I struggle with my advice. My advice changes so quickly. I used to have a team. I had a wonderful team. I could not take my advice and put it into processes quick enough for a team to be able to do that. Now, there were times where you could take a template, like a technical SEO template. There's certain things that you could do that will, help improve the performance of a website. But if you're impacted by the helpful content system, core update, reviews update, it's because machine learning systems are determining that other content is more helpful for searchers than yours. And that's something that is a foreign concept for most SEOs and most agencies. So I don't know what agencies do that don't thoroughly understand this concept. I'm not sure. And I think that a lot of businesses struggle. I see it all the time that now I don't take clients anymore, but when clients came to me, they'd say, we've been through 5 different SEO agencies and nobody's been able to have the slightest clue or do something that will help us. So anybody have any comments on that? Has SEO become more difficult because of that? Darius says, I agree. Yeah. I mean, we used to be able to take the Moz beginner's guide, and anybody who knew that, you know, could do some decent work with websites. And then we went through this phase where anybody who understood how links work could rank websites. And Alessia says it takes sometimes longer to recover sites. Yeah, I mean, Alessia, what would you be able to share? What kind of things you feel actually help to recover sites these days?
Like this latest update that hit the many niche websites, it was clearly targeted on those who have these extensive ads. So yeah, we just remove them and those kind of things. Some things they work really quickly, but they have nothing to do with helpful content. But this helpful content, it's like more than 1 month after you remove, and still not everything is solved.
Have
Actually,
you?
and what I noticed is that I'm working a lot with Google Knowledge Graph. With this new helpful content update, the sites that were hit, their authors and sometimes the site itself lost the knowledge panel. It's like from what I can observe. But I don't have enough data, like not 50
Yeah.
websites where we can correlate, but I've noticed that it hit them also within the knowledge graph stuff. So maybe trust or something. I'm just trying not to like
Well, and it's
use
interesting too, because
terms, but yeah.
Jason Barnard, Calicube, noticed that there was that massive update to the knowledge graph in the summer, where there were more person entries. And so it seems to me that that's connected, you know, that Google can kind of figure out, from what I've seen from sites impacted by the helpful content system, a lot of the time, like, yes, they had ads, but I don't think it was the ads that necessarily caused the problem. It was the fact that the type of site that has ads, in order to have those ads, you got to be super helpful in order for Google to consider you, like, to outweigh the rest of the content, if that makes sense. I have a lot of things I want to say there. Have you seen sites recover yet at all from the helpful content update? I have
Well,
not.
those that had like these lots many ads, they have not yet. I have not
Yeah.
seen a single one. But others that were hit by other systems, they did recover many of them, and just quite fine. And also, I think that is more on Dennis Sullivan and Lily Ray conversation, where Dennis Sullivan tries to avoid talking about connection to knowledge graph of these helpful system updates.
True.
So he
Yeah.
says, yeah, so he tries to drive it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a whole other, I mean, we could have, maybe that's something we should do one day, is have a big long discussion and delve into ideas on how the knowledge graph is used. Olaf Kopp wrote an excellent article that got me thinking about the knowledge vault again this week. Like, there's so much that we could be talking about. Helpful content.
I've seen from one of my searches that triggered SGE. There was like, you know, they have these links to other website, and then the last link was not a link, but it said that it's from Google Knowledge Graph. So the answer of this SGE is taken from the Google Knowledge Graph, and I've started seeing it more often after, like, within this week or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's, you know what, I would love to have a whole conversation with you about just that. You know, I think we could get like you, me, and Olaf and a few other people and just kind of break that apart. I think for the helpful content updates, the way that their documentation works is they say that if you get the classification, so the niche sites that were impacted, like so many of them had traffic drop down to almost nothing. If you get the classification, then it says there could be a period of months before it's removed. So I think I have seen some sites in the past that I felt have recovered from a helpful content hit. Nothing from the September one yet. And to me, it seems to be like a few months, like 3 months or so, which is frustrating because, you know, the things that you need to do to get rid of this. So let's say it's getting rid of ads or getting rid of tons of pages that maybe are not helpful, or maybe you've worked to improve some pages. the thing is, like, these companies don't have any budget left because all their ad revenue's gone. And here I am telling people, well, you need to create this helpful content, but like, it's expensive to create content that actually is legitimately more helpful than what exists on the web. So I think it's going to be hard for most sites. I think we'll see some sites recover because there's always like with Panda, we used to see some sites that would jump up and down with different updates depending on how the system evaluated them. But I think most sites that were impacted, I don't think we're going to see recoveries, unfortunately. But let me be positive here, because I know that there are people in this call who were impacted by that update. I think, though, that Google recognizes that. Like, Renee, I know you're okay with me calling you out here. You have a really nice recipe blog, and you were impacted by the helpful content system. I think that Google wants to be able to elevate sites like yours, but I think they're training you to not be like everybody else, but to like figure out what is it. We've talked about this, but like, what is it that makes you special, you know, about why would people come to your blog? And then you get thinking about creating that type of content that like would make me want to go back and go, oh, what did Renee tell me about cooking this week? And as you figure that out, then you should be able to start appearing in these new like helpful content carousels and in the maps listings and all sorts of things like that. What do you think, Renee? Oh, she might not be here, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Oh.
I'm here. Yeah, I was just listening. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, for example, one of the things that I've done is pick a specific category that I think will, because I still have to be strategic, right? So that I think will work best in SGE. And I completely reconsidered how we structure the content, because I think one of the things that I've realized is the content that we have on the site is solid, but we were following the advice of Mediavine. Nothing against Mediavine, I love them, but their goal is for us to make as much revenue as possible. And so how they had us structure the content was very specific, which was the opposite of what Google wants, which is to put the answer as far down on the page as possible, right?
Yeah.
And so what I did was completely rethink these FAQ type articles of how can I get the answer to the reader as quickly as possible, but also give them a reason to scroll down. And so when I started really analyzing that, it really gave an opportunity for us to relook at the site and say, okay, there is so much opportunity for better value here. And I think most of it's going to come down to the structure of the page more than the content on the page, in our case, because I think, honestly, our content was pretty helpful.
I'm laughing because something that I found recently, there's something in Google's documentation that says the helpful content system is less about the structure of the page and more about the content, which like goes against what I've been saying, because I've been seeing a lot of sites, you know, like the most helpful part is what is at the top. I think that that's still valid. But I think there's a part, and if I can communicate it to you, then I will be able to figure out how to communicate this to the world, is in creating helpful content, there's more. You're figuring out what SGE wants to see and creating content for SGE under the guise of, here's what
That's actually not what I mean. So let me explain.
Okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I think that there are certain categories of content that I have created in the past the SGE will be able to 100% answer, and there's just no value in me creating it. So I'm still trying to find the content that I think people will click through for, and then making that the most helpful I possibly can. Because I have 3,000 pieces of content, so I have to start somewhere. So
I understand. Okay, understandable. Okay. I think there's another level for you yet, though, and it's again in finding out what the questions are. And that comes out of community, probably. That as like for me, it's happening where what we're doing today is like, here's the questions that people are asking, and I'm creating content that helps answer those questions, you know? Anyways, I think that's one day I'd like to do more videos where we just look at more helpful content hit sites. And we've sort of
Yeah. Can I just say? I just want
Yeah.
to say real quick. I think that you're nailing something there about finding the questions, and we have been trained to go to Hrefs and find the questions, but I don't think those are the right questions anymore. You know, I think that the questions are more granular. And one of the dreams that I always had for our website that I never followed, and I swear I won't go too long on this, but I never followed was, I feel like people have a lot of questions and they don't want. We were trained, for example, if you do like how to reheat tamales, God bless us all, because we have to put 45 questions related to that somehow semantically inside of that article. And I don't think that's helpful to anyone, right? But if I took all 45 questions and put them as individual articles, they would be outrageously helpful. But at the same time, I didn't think I would ever get any of those to rank because they weren't all in one article.
Okay, so
now
tell
I
me,
think maybe
tell me something that I don't know about reheating tamales.
oh, well, I can't think of anything right now. Of course, you put me on the spot.
That's the thing. So there are going to be many articles all across the web that can answer the question of how to reheat tamales. Bard could answer that question for me. But if you are a person who has experience in like reheating tamales, you know things like
How
don't
many
try to do
times
it in
can
the
you reheat them?
microwave because it's going to get soggy, or like the questions. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
You know
Yeah,
what?
I got you.
So anyway, I'm going to move on, but like one day I think we should talk more about, I think understanding intent is way more important than keyword research.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay, we are getting through. We're almost done here. Yahoo is coming out with search again. I don't know much about this, but Yahoo says stay tuned. Yahoo search rolling out the first weeks of 2024. They must have some AI related stuff. What's going on here? What to watch? Yahoo got a lot of people that are really well known as like OG SEOs who knew Google. A lot of affiliate marketers and as well. So it's be interesting to see what happens with Yahoo. You know what? I bookmarked this to look at it because apparently GPT now can learn from your chats. Somebody screenshotted this. Your GPT will carry what it learns between chats, allowing it to provide more relevant responses. That makes GPTs even more valuable. I just wanted to mention that. I could go on for another half hour about that. Okay, Bing chat. We're gonna end in a minute by talking about Bing. Bing Chat now is known as Copilot, and this is a lot to stay on top of. As much as I try to figure out what it is that Google's doing, we need to talk about what's happening with Bing. So I'm going to come back to that at the very, very end. I thought this was interesting that you can now filter search results for small businesses. Let's see this. Tools, and then one of the options here is small businesses. I really see the day where Bard as our assistant will be, I'm in the garage and I'm like, hey, I want to fix this thing. What tools do I need? And then I can just talk to Bard and Bard will say, oh yeah, there's a store down the road that has it and they deliver. And then I say, okay, go ahead and order it. And it's in my driveway and I haven't even opened a search result. I think that's coming. And Bard is now available for teens. It said around the world. I am sure that's not Canada. Math, data. No. All right, so that's interesting. I think, again, I could talk forever about the opportunities for that our children are going to have with AI. Imagine every child will have their own personal assistant that learns like they do, that can teach them, that understands what they're not understanding. We're going to look back at how we went to school and what our education was and just laugh at how difficult it was. The majority of school is just putting knowledge in our language model that's in our head. And so imagine, now we've got access to all of the knowledge. It's just learning which parts to pay attention to and how to use that. That is exciting. A few more things. There's I noticed, or Kushal noticed this different recipe section. There's a lot of changes for recipe sites. I don't know if this is new to you, Renee, but looks like there's a lot of changes happening with carousels.
Is that a video?
This is a
Is that a video?
This is just, I don't know what this is.
Huh.
Anyways,
Sorry,
Barry
I
thought it was
just jumped
interesting.
right in.
I want to play with this later. This is but you guys can't hear my sound, so there's no point in me doing this now. But so Demis Hassabis is one of the co-founders of DeepMind, and so they've got some new AI music generation, which I don't know if this is the same thing that was in the AI test kitchen. I played with that a little bit. It was quite good. You could just basically use words to be like, I want a 30-second jingle to go in the background of this type of thing, and it uses guitar and this. And so it'd be interesting to see what happens with AI music generation. And then this is something too that I thought was pretty cool, was also DeepMind. This is another one of the co-founders of DeepMind, that now Google's more accurate at determining weather, which is fascinating. So we're going to see more and more changes as we learn how to use AI. I'm not going to talk about the whole Microsoft event yesterday. I mean, if you've got time, I would encourage you to watch it. It's quite long. I made a whole bunch of notes. You can put, I basically made this with my GPT that summarizes. I just kind of like dictate my notes, and it did that. But I want to show you, even if you can't hear it, I want to show you this part of the video. I can hear it. Oh, this was how they finished this event, and they said that this basically exists now. Like, it's people using virtual reality and then talking to their co-pilot saying, like, give me the schematics for this, and it's saying the hydraulic filter was just changed 6 months ago, and what's the tolerance of this? He said, remind me where this fits into the assembly. I mean, Glenn Gabe talks about Iron Man and Jarvis, Tony Stark's little creation, Jarvis. We're basically here. What Microsoft announced yesterday was all of these ways that companies can use the things that we've been talking about. So GPTs, they announced new, the way I understand it is, you can basically have your own server at Microsoft that is like an AI server, and a NVIDIA optimized for AI, like able to do all the calculations. And that takes away the privacy issues. You can have your own private GPT. So now companies can put their own data on their own server and do all the things that we've been playing around with and learning to do. And then it should be super private. And that's how these things get created, of like, put your schematics in, put your company, like all of your company instructions in, and then across all of your company, everybody's got access to your data, to your, like, to all of the things that you have. So it's hard to grasp how much this will change society, because I think we're going to see this explosion. Like, all of this that we talked about here happened yesterday. Like, one day all of these things happen, and I left out a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about. So things are going to explode so fast, and my goal is to do this regularly. I don't know if it'll be every day. I don't think it'll be like an hour and a half every day, but just sort of talk about what's new, what's happening, and you guys can like pop in whenever you see a notification pop up. And then I'm going to take what we did today and I'm going to condense it in a newsletter. So newsletter is actually going to be AI written, but that's okay because it'll be short, and we'll tell people what they need to know. And if they want to know more about what the humans think, then they can watch the video, which will be available to everybody too. We do have time. I mean, we can do some discussion. Does anybody have any questions or anything that you wanted to bring up? You'll have to do it in the chat, I think, or start talking.
How are you going to use AI to write this?
You want to do it right now? Let's try it. Okay, well, let's, you know what, I'm going to see what happens. Why not? We'll just, I have so many chats open. I think we'll do, we won't do it as a GPT. We'll just do it right in chat. Oh, but I don't have the transcript though, but I just did a call where this was the agenda. I don't know if it'll do this, but we'll see. And I just pasted everything in. So that's the entirety of my notes that we were just talking about. That works. Honestly, what do you think?
That's amazing. I wouldn't have thought of doing that, so that's really cool.
That's actually really good. So then there's my newsletter. So my newsletter normally takes me the entirety, it really takes like 2 full days of writing, which is not good for my body to be constantly writing all the time. Wow. Any reasons, would you guys be, how do you feel about reading a completely AI generated newsletter from me?
I like the idea of the AI generated, and then, like you said, attach the video so that people can, you know, clean house and listen if they want as well to get the human summary. And then maybe if you wrote one most important human written snippet from you at the bottom, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because then we get to figure out what you think is the most important thing that happened that day. Here's all the things, but here's then the most important thing.
I know what I'll do. I'm going to take this and put it at the beginning of newsletter. So anybody who just has 2 minutes and wants to get caught up with what happened can do this. And then I'm going to take the transcript. And I know that it'll summarize it because I use Claude all the time to summarize meeting transcripts. And so if people want to read a summary of what we talked about here, it'll be on there. Cool. That works. Well, this has been fun.
Virtual guy asked a question in the comments that I think is really good. Do you want me to read it for you?
I was scrolled all the way up here. I missed half of your comments here. What do you think about a site that survives all updates just fine for 10 years and then gets hit on November 2nd? Okay, so that was when the core update rolled out, right? Are you here, virtual guy? Yeah, okay. So I have not yet analyzed the core update. It's something that I want to do on these calls as well. What kind of site do you have? Can you give me a rough idea of your, like, what kind of topics you cover? Oh, it's adult topics. Yeah, definitely not. I said once, I don't know if you're part of that, probably not part of that crew. I remember saying once in one of my podcast episodes, I'm sure I don't have any listeners who are in the adult industry. And then I was at an event speaking, and like one whole row at the event was Pornhub and their team, which are actually like really, really incredible people, smart people. Pornhub has so much data that you can learn a lot from. So I don't know, virtual guy, in terms of, I mean, whenever you have an adult website, there's always concerns about safety and Google understanding intent. I would imagine EAT is incredibly important, that you need to be trusted as like a place to go for that kind of thing. I don't know. And I don't think that's one that we'll pull up to examine. I do want to do some of these though, where we look at people's sites. Let's see here. Okay, again, you're here. With Grok coming up soon, it'll be easier to pull up discussions from Twitter as well. Yeah, Grok. I didn't even talk about Grok. I don't have access to Grok. Grok is Twitter's AI. That's a whole other discussion, right? Because basically everything that we put on Twitter now is a part of, it's searchable by anybody. And I think like think of how many things you've written on Twitter that were just a reply to somebody that you're like, nobody's ever going to see this other than me and that person. And now like everything is accessible by AI. So my thought, I went through this period of time where I was like, I don't want to put anything on social media because like everybody knows everything. And then I thought, you know what? Everybody already knows everything. So my philosophy is if I put something on social media, I just assume that I'm making it public, that it's available to everyone, and just be a nice, good person. And, you know, don't put anything on there that I wouldn't want people to see. Look into if you give bytes to Google. Oh, for adult. Oh, that's the adult thing. I don't want to know what that is. Okay. Oh, what is Grok? Yeah. So, well, maybe we can cover that in another one. I'm sure we'll see more of Twitter's AI Grok. The thing that you're going to hear about Grok is that it's silly and irreverent. Like it's based on The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is my favorite book. And it says references people won't get, like making a pan-galactic gargle blaster, which is, it doesn't really make sense to most people. But it'll teach you like how to make cocaine or things that you wouldn't be able to get from ChatGPT. But Grok is Elon Musk's attempt at taking every piece of knowledge that is available in the world and determining what truth is from that knowledge, which sounds ludicrous because if you think of Twitter and all of the bots and all of the nasty stuff that happens on Twitter, like why would you determine truth from that? But I believe he's got a path there. And I think that Musk has all of the data from Teslas all around the world, constantly collecting data from Starlink, from Twitter now, which is all, if anything happens in the world in real time, it's discussed on Twitter. So I think we need to pay attention to Grok. It's going to be a competitor. It's going to be important. So basically Twitter, I can't call it X. I don't know why. Twitter, Google, and OpenAI are all heading towards trying to create AGI, artificial general intelligence. And none of us really understand what's happening. So my goal here is to just try to make it understandable, I think. You know what, guys, I think I'm going to end this call here. This has been really good. I'm going to play this afternoon with summarizing what we talked about, and we'll put that into newsletter. And we will do another one. So you just need to be a member of the search bar just in the free area. And you'll get a notification whenever I go live. I'm not going to commit to doing it every single day, but just whenever we have enough information that we need to talk about. So good. Thanks, everybody. And we'll talk soon.